4 years after the Battle of Yavin, the Galactic Empire would suffer a devastating loss, resulting in the formation of the New Republic. 36 years later, a new threat would emerge. Leading this threat was a former hero turned Sith Lord. This Sith Lord was none other than Darth Caedus, formerly known as Jacen Solo. Born 9 years after the Battle of Yavin, Jacen Solo was born along with his twin Jaina to Leia Organa and Han Solo. Solo spent most of his early years as the focal point of various kidnappings and schemes against his famous parents. When Jacen was 13, he and his sister were part of the second generation of students to attend their uncle Luke Skywalker's Jedi Paraxium on Yavin 4. At the Paraxium, Solo was taught the ways of the Force as well as defeating numerous plots against the New Republic. Solo, along with his brother Anakin, would eventually be apprenticed to their uncle Luke. However, war would strike the galaxy again in 25 ABY when the Yuuzhan Vong attacked the New Republic. During the war, Caedus would serve at the front lines and volunteer for strike teams. One of these teams was assembled to eliminate the Vong Queen. During the attack, Caedus' brother Anakin was killed. Caedus stepped up to lead the strike and would go on to kill the Queen. However, Caedus would be imprisoned by the Vong for almost a year and was tortured for weeks at a time. Solo eventually escaped the Vong imprisonment and rejoined the war effort during the final battle of the Vong conflict. After the war, Caedus spent 5 years learning and studying from various Force users. In 40 ABY, Solo would eventually come into contact with Briche Sayo, who in reality was the Dark Lady of the Sith, Lumaya. After taking Solo to her home on an asteroid, Lumaya dueled Solo. Caedus would then join Lumaya after probing the future. The future stated that if he did not join her, he would kill Luke Skywalker, and the galaxy would be plunged into chaos. Caedus then entered a year-long descent into darkness, slowly growing farther away from the Jedi and his family. Caedus would next kill Luke Skywalker's wife, Mara Jade, in doing so becoming a master of the dark side. Darth Caedus would finally take control of the Galactic Alliance until he was killed by his twin sister Jaina aboard the Anakin Solo. Darth Caedus is remembered as one of the most powerful users of the dark side the galaxy has ever seen. Born more than 100 years after the Battle of Yavin, Cade Skywalker was born to Jedi Master Cole Skywalker and Imperial Agent Morgan Cord. After his mother left, Cade grew up at the Jedi Temple on Ossus and was trained as a Jedi by Cole's apprentice, Wolf Satan. Cade would reach the level of Padawan and was en route to become a Jedi. However, this would not be as in 130 ABY, Darth Krayt's one Sith Order under the command of Darth Nihil attacked the Ossus Temple. While Cade was able to get his master to safety, he was forced to watch as Darth Nihil killed his father, traumatizing the young Skywalker. After escaping the temple, Cade healed Sazin with his unique healing abilities and fled. However, his ship would be gunned down and was assumed dead. However, this was not the case, as Cade would be rescued 3 days later by the pirate Rav. For 7 years, Cade would work as a bounty hunter along with his crew, Jariah Sin and Delia Blue. As much as Cade wanting nothing to do with the war, he knew that he could never truly have peace and was forced to pick up his role as a Jedi once again. Cade would go on and infiltrate the Sith Temple on Coruscant to rescue Jedi Haas Trailis. However, Cade would be captured by Darth Talon and Darth Nihil. Cade would be tortured by Darth Maladi. However, her poisons had no effect due to Cade's usage of death sticks and strong force abilities, boosting his resistance. Eventually, Cade would be brought before Darth Krayt, who would reveal to Cade he was in need of healing. However, the talks would erupt into conflict, as Cade would greatly injure Darth Nihil, severing his arm and stabbing Darth Talon before engaging the Dark Lord. Cade would hold off Krayt and escape the temple with the help of his mother. Cade next, with the help of his uncle Nat, would head to the secret Jedi Temple and pitch the idea of an assassination of Krayt before the Jedi High Council. However, they deemed it as un-Jedi-like and refused to aid Cade in his plan. Cade and his crew, made up of Sin Blue, Celeste Morn, and Aslan Ray, made a course for Had Abandon, where the group would seize an Imperial base and wait for Krayt's arrival. Krayt took the bait and traveled to the base with Darth Maladi, Darth Talon, Darth Strafe, and Darth Warlock III. Cade and his allies sprung the trap and was able to defeat the Dark Lord. However, little did they know that Krayt survived, only to be betrayed by his most trusted servant, Darth Warlock. Believing Krayt to be dead, Cade and his allies continued to attack Imperial targets, even defeating Sith scientist Vol Eisen. While destroying Eisen, Cade sensed an impossible, the resurrection of Darth Krayt. The Force had given him his destiny to destroy Krayt. With the combined forces of Rowan Fell's Empire, the Galactic Alliance, the Allies made an attack for the capital Coruscant. Cade would lead a special strike team where he would go on to engage the newly resurrected Darth Krayt. During the fight, Cade was injured to the point of death and saw Krayt's vision. Cade reached out into the forest, grabbing his lightsaber, and cut Krayt down, proclaiming himself a Jedi. After the battle, Cade took Krayt's body and attempted to throw his body into the sun, with the intention of doing the same to himself. Cade claimed the Dark Lord would use his body to return. However, before this could be done, the spirit of Luke Skywalker urged Cade not to live his life in fear. Accepting his ancestors' guidance, Cade fled the ship before it collided with the sun. Cade was then picked up by Sin and Blue and set a course for a distant planet where they could live in peace. Hey guys, Rob Terra here, and welcome to the very next installment of my Versus series. Please excuse if I sound a little weird when I'm doing the character biographies in the beginning of this episode. It is due to the fact that I had a cold during the initial recordings of this. I've waited to do any audio since then just because I didn't want to have my voice cracking throughout the entire video because that would just sound retarded. And I wanted to make sure this video was pretty good. But anyways, this video has one of my favorite Sith Lords, Darth Caedus, going up against Cade Skywalker. I wanted to use Caedus and I didn't know who to use, so I ended up using Cade due to the fact that I was reading Legacy at the same time. So I'm like, you know what, I'll just use Cade, whatever. So I used Cade. Hopefully this match is pretty balanced. I'm thinking it will be, but I haven't done the research yet, so we'll find out. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy this episode. Also, I forgot who it was, but your Versus series is coming out. It's with Eth Koth. You know who you are. It is coming out very soon. I just have a couple things that I have to do before that Versus can come out. But yeah, until next time, guys, enjoy the video. First, we will compare their physical attributes. Darth Caedus was a human male in his mid-30s at the time of his death. As a result of his Jedi training, Caedus is very strong and fit in terms of physicality. Caedus' speed was also extremely advanced as well as his endurance. Hell, this guy got stabbed in his abdomen, was burned by his warship's incinerator, and was punctured by at least a dozen used syringes and kept fighting on. This also just shows how tough Caedus was, as his injuries obtained were nasty, to put it lightly. Caedus also shows a huge resistance to pain, as he was tortured for weeks at a time by the Yuuzhan Vong. Caedus also doesn't seem to be affected by dark side degradation and is only affected by the golden eyes and pale skin common among Sith Lords. In terms of physicality, Caedus was a complete tank, and the only way to take this guy down would be a death blow. Cade Skywalker is a human male in his mid-20s at the time of Krayt's death, and much like Caedus is in very good physical shape. Also like Caedus, Cade is very resistant to pain. This guy has been stabbed by lightsabers, shocked countless times by force lightning, fallen into a Utapauian sinkhole, as well as being tortured much like Caedus to the embrace of pain, one of the most painful things in the Star Wars universe, and still is able to get up and fight. It is also worth noting that Cade is just entering his physical prime. This round is surprisingly tough to call. In terms of species advantage, there is none, as both Caedus and Cade are young human males, so that cancels each other out. Both are extremely physically fit and in their physical primes, which also cancels each other out. Both Caedus and Cade also have a very high resistance to pain, both not cracking while being tortured to the embrace of pain. In my mind, the thing that stands out is Caedus' speed, and in my opinion, that just isn't enough to give Caedus the advantage over Cade, as to me the speed advantage here is negligible. In the end, I can't give an advantage either way, and I declare Darth Caedus and Cade Skywalker equals in terms of physical attributes. Next, we will compare them as martial artists and lightsaber duelists. Darth Caedus is one of the best lightsaber combatants in galactic history. This is a man who can outduel just about everyone in his era, and I would easily place him on the same tier as Darth Caedus in terms of lightsaber combat. Caedus' lightsaber style is not confirmed in any source, however, due to the fact that Caedus was the new Jedi Order's prodigy, it is a very safe bet that he had an understanding of all 7 forms of lightsaber dueling. I personally believe that Caedus used a number of forms in combat, them being Form 5 Djemso, Form 3 Surisu, Form 4 Ataru, and Form 2 Makashi. Caedus' style would be very similar to his master Luke Skywalker's style, with a focus on Djemso, with elements of Form 3 and 4 sprinkled in. Form 5, also known as the Way of the Krayt Dragon, was characterized by power attacks and defense immediately, followed by a counter-strike. This does make sense for Caedus, as in the Legacy of the 4 series, it stated that he used a form that was brutal and aggressive, even when deflecting blaster bolts. In my mind, this very much sums up to Djemso, aggression through defense. Form 3 Surisu is the 3rd form of lightsaber combat. Surisu was developed during the widespread emergence of blasters as an offensive weapon, essentially a development on the Form 1 blaster deflective training. Surisu relied on a tight moveset and subtle dodges to provide maximum defensive coverage, as well as minimizing exposure to ranged weaponry. Form 4 Ataru is the most physically demanding of all 7 forms. Form 4 was fast-paced and effective against single opponents, though weaker in prolonged combat. Ataru also employed force-assisted acrobatics such as somersaults and leaping strikes, both for attack and defense. These forms offered Caedus a very versatile style that had very few weaknesses. However, I am also inclined to believe that Caedus had skill in Form 2 Makashi. I believe he had skill in Makashi due to the fact that he was considered a master fencer by Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, no mean feat. Form 2 was developed purely for blade-on-blade fencing. Makashi was known for his precision and efficiency. Makashi's blade work was considered elegant and focused and was based on balance and footwork to outmaneuver opponents. As stated in another one of my versus videos, Nagasadao vs Count Dooku, I explained that another advantage to Form 2 was its relative rarity. As more styles were developed, Makashi was used less and less, becoming rarer and rarer, providing the edge to the Makashi user. Caedus also has been shown to incorporate force abilities into his lightsaber sequence, giving me the impression that he is very skilled in Form 6 Nightman, as incorporating force abilities into its sequence is a core aspect of Form 6. All of these Caedus hybridized into his own personal dueling style, which was extremely impressive. Not to mention, his high level of speed and dexterity only helped him in combat. The fact that Caedus could hold his own against Grandmaster Luke Skywalker and defeat Mara Jade and Kyle Katarn, some of the best duelists of the New Jedi Order, just shows how talented of a duelist Caedus really is. Darth Caedus was also a master of unarmed combat, using Galactic Alliance Guard and Mandalorian techniques as a focus of his personal martial arts style, and often incorporated this into his lightsaber sequence. Along with his lightsaber, Caedus is also skilled in the use of blasters, vibroblades, and poison darts, no doubt due to his immense study after the Yuzhong Vong War. Although never reaching the rank of Jedi Knight, Cade Skywalker is no pushover in terms of martial arts and lightsaber dueling. When Ossus fell, he was easily able to slay countless Sith. Also, Cade was able to hold his own against Darth Talon and Darth Nihil, Emperor Krayt's hands, easily after not picking up a lightsaber in 7 years. Not to mention, he was able to defeat Talon after a 2-week training session on Ossus with Wolf Sazin, Shadow, and Krayt. And only after a week of training in the Sith Temple on Coruscant, Cade was able to defeat Darth Nihil and hold his own against Darth Krayt, one of, if not the best duelists of his era. Cade's exact style is never stated in any source, however, after reading the Legacy comic series, I can put forth an educated guess on what Cade specialized in. I'm inclined to believe that Cade was a master of Form 7 Juyo, the most aggressive form. However, to be a practitioner of Juyo, the user must be a master of at least 1 or 2 other forms to base their Juyo off of. For Cade, I believe this would be Ataru and Chicho. Cade is a very aggressive dueler, however from the look of his style, it doesn't look like his attacks are overly aggressive and powerful like Form 5. Cade incorporated lots of flips and kicks into his sequence, a core aspect of Ataru. I don't believe Cade is a master of Form 1 Chicho. He has been shown to take on multiple Sith and Stormtrooper at once, giving me the impression that he has at least a good understanding of the form. Not to mention, Form 1 is a staple in every Jedi's training. Also known as the Ferocity form, Juyo was the 7th and final form of classical lightsaber dueling. Described as the most vicious form of lightsaber combat, Juyo is said to involve a significant internal focus on the part of the user. Form 7 is very strong, very aggressive, very fast, and extremely efficient. Form 4 Ataru is the 4th form of classical lightsaber combat. Also known as the Way of the Hawkbat, an aggressive style, Form 4 was fast-paced and efficient against single opponents, though weaker in prolonged combat and in confined spaces. Form 4 also incorporated flips, kicks, and punches into its sequence, something Cade has been frequently seen to incorporate. Form 1 Chicho uses a variety of wide sweeping strokes and focuses on the body's target zones, the shoulders, head, and knees. Form 1 is raw, wild, and emotionally charged. Chicho, however, was not the perfect style by any means. It was terrible against single opponents, however in the hands of a master, its weaknesses could be made up for. Cade, in my opinion, was not a master of the form, but still had knowledge of the form to use in combat. In a one-on-one duel against Caedus, I can't see Cade utilizing Chicho heavily, more likely not at all. This round is a challenging one to call. Both Caedus and Cade have multiple forms at their disposal, Caedus utilizing his hybrid form, and Cade utilizing Juyo, Ataru, and Chicho. Both duelists have been able to hold their own against some of the greatest duelists of their era, them being Master Skywalker, Kyle Katarn, and Mara Jade for Caedus, and Darth Krayt for Cade. Not to say that Cade's victories were negligible, but Caedus' accomplishments in dueling are superior than Cade's. Another huge factor that plays into account is Caedus' experience. I feel Caedus' experience and overall knowledge of lightsaber combat can play a huge factor in this duel. And to sum it up, in my mind, Caedus' hybrid style is superior to Cade's style, so I must declare Darth Caedus the winner in terms of lightsaber combat and martial arts. Next, we will compare their force abilities. Darth Caedus had great force potential, which his uncle was able to sense shortly after his birth. Caedus was a complete master of the dark side, and one of the best force users of his era. His telekinetic skills were extremely advanced, being able to lift and throw large objects such as a frigate with ease. Telekinesis was one of Caedus' favorite tools, and used it heavily in combat. Caedus' telepathic abilities were extremely advanced and could employ the basic Jedi mind trick, as well as the beast trick ability. He also used force augmentation to manipulate his reflexes. These boosted his already well-rounded fighting style to be even more quick and precise. Caedus was very strong in the force choke ability, and could easily lift and throw his victim around. Caedus could also use the Saber throw ability, however he rarely used this in combat. One of Caedus' more interesting abilities was Battle Meditation. Battle Meditation was a force ability which considerably boosted the morale, stamina, and overall battle prowess of the practitioner's allies, while simultaneously reducing the opponent's combat effectiveness by destroying their will to fight. Caedus could even create some illusions, fooling Mara Jade Skywalker with the projection of her son in their duel. Now, I don't think Caedus could create illusions like the ancient Sith Lords such as Vishit or Naga Sadow, but the fact that he could create illusions to begin with is impressive. Caedus also had the knowledge to use Tutaminis and absorb blaster shots. It has never been stated that he could catch lightning or lightsabers, however, I'm inclined to believe that he can catch lightning, but not lightsabers. Now, in my opinion, Caedus' best force ability is his use of Force Lightning. This Force Lightning could be used to create storms of Force Lightning. Caedus' lightning has been so powerful it has been shown to disintegrate its victims. Caedus also has been able to achieve oneness with the Force, but due to the fact that he turned to a Sith Lord, I don't believe he could perform this at the time of his death. As with Caedus, Cade was a member of the Skywalker lineage and was highly skilled in the Force. Cade's skill in telekinesis was very strong, being able to push and throw extremely large objects with ease. Cade also had no problem grappling and throwing an object around, most notably when he threw Darth Talon after not using the Force in 7 years. Cade also had the Force Speed ability, which he often incorporated into his lightsaber sequence. Cade's speed, much like Caedus, was extremely fast, and a trained Force user could have difficulty perceiving it. Cade had an advanced knowledge of the Jedi mind trick, however, creatures like the Hutts were out of his skill region. Cade could also resist the mental influence of other Jedi and Sith Lords, shown when he was able to reverse the mind probing of Darth Maladi, not only turning the Sith illusions back at her, but also ripping knowledge from her mind, a very impressive attribute. Skywalker was also able to create a protective bubble of Force energy around him, however, he has been seen to do this rarely, and the amount of punishment the bubble can take is unknown. Skywalker also could cleanse his body of toxins and poisons, much like Darth Bane and Darth Tyrannus, and was able to use the Force Heal ability. Due to Cade's time at the Dark Temple under the apprenticeship of Darth Talon, Cade has many dark side abilities at his disposal as well. Cade was very strong in Force Lightning and was able to generate bolts that would send people flying upon impact. Cade also has a working understanding of Force Choke, however he has only demonstrated this a few times and I believe is nowhere near the level of Caedus' Force Choke. Finally, we get to Cade's most bizarre force power, his Shatter Point healing ability. Cade was born with the ability to read shatter points within a specific object. He then uses his knowledge of Force Lightning to pour Force Lightning into his shatter points. Doing this, Cade could heal the worst of injuries, including Vong implants and the Rat Ghoul Plague. However, there was more to this ability. Cade could also use the ability on the offensive. Cade would find a shatter point where the object breaks and destroy them from the inside. Cade would go on to describe this ability as red lines of fire, where he could either heal you or destroy you. This round is interesting. Both Caedus and Cade are members of the Skywalker lineage, boosting their abilities in the Force. Caedus' skill in telekinesis could play a role in this fight. Caedus also had the power to create illusions, however in a fight against Cade, I can't see him using this. Cade will use everything in his arsenal against Caedus, especially lightning and telekinesis. Caedus' lightning is more powerful than Cade's, so he gets the advantage there. In terms of main event powers, Cade's Shatterpoint could be huge. However, to use this move properly requires physical contact, so I can't see him doing that against Caedus. In the end, Caedus is just a more well-rounded Force user than Cade and has more abilities that will help him in combat, such as Tutaminis. Therefore, I declare Darth Caedus the winner in terms of Force abilities. Next, we will compare Armament and Tools. Darth Caedus utilized 2 different lightsabers in his lifetime. His first lightsaber which he wielded was taken by Ben Skywalker after Caedus' duel with Luke Skywalker aboard the Anakin Solo. This weapon was somewhat generic in design and featured a single Caressa gem emerald crystal. In 40 ABY, Caedus finally created his Sith lightsaber. Its hilt looks to follow a cylindrical design. Not much is known about the weapon other than it featured a set of red crystals which I assume are synthetic in nature. Caedus also carried a standard blaster pistol and a vibroblade. Caedus would also wear a set of wrist gauntlets which held a poison dart chamber. He also seems to wear some type of body armor over his chest, however this is pure speculation on my part. Cade Skywalker's original lightsaber was lost the day that Ossus fell. This weapon was very standard in design and featured a blue Edagan crystal as its focusing lens. Eventually, Cade would be gifted the lightsaber of his father Cole Skywalker. The weapon featured an extremely simple design with a long hilt and hand placements. The original blue crystal of the blade was burned out due to battle and was replaced by a green lampet crystal. These crystals were grown by the Yuuzhan Vong and when placed in a lightsaber can offer the wielder a better connection to the living force. During his time as a bounty hunter, Cade used a rock chop special pistol. This pistol was very powerful and Cade would not hesitate to use this even on a force user. Cade also wore some type of body armor on his chest much like Caedus, however this is pure speculation on my part. This round is very simple. Both Caedus and Cade carry lightsabers. Cade's has more maneuverability, while Caedus's has more cunning power. They both carry extra weapons and body armor. Caedus's gauntlets are very tempting, but in the end, I can't give the edge to Caedus. Therefore, I declare Darth Caedus and Cade Skywalker equals in terms of armament and tools. And finally, the verdict. This fight would be an interesting one, as both are skilled duelists as well as very gifted force users. The battle would begin with Cade leaping at Caedus and the two engaging in a vicious lightsaber duel. The two would continue to clash blades until Caedus notices an opening. Caedus would deliver a well-placed punch to Cade. Cade, sensing trouble, leaps back and attempts to regroup. Caedus, however, does not allow this. Reigniting his blade, Caedus storms at Cade, forcing the young Skywalker on the defensive. Cade would attempt to resort to his force powers, but Caedus would unleash a devastating telekinetic blast, sending Cade flying. Cade desperately gets to his feet and attempts to get a hold of Caedus. Sidestepping Cade with his advanced speed, Caedus unleashes torrents of force lightning. Cade would block the attack with his blade. Caedus, gaining ground, reignites his blade and the two once again duel. Caedus, taking advantage of a weakened Cade, breaks through the defenses and cuts Cade down. In the end, I declare Darth Caedus, the dark side master, the winner. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Versus. This turned out to be, in my opinion, my most well done Versus yet in terms of character analyzation. Anyways, if you have any more Versus suggestions, please leave them down in the description below and maybe I'll make that an episode. I've already gotten one suggestion and that is coming soon. Also, if you disagree with the outcome, comment how you think this would turn out. I'd love to see what you all think. Until next time guys, this is Terra. Take care.